The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Roland Deschain, the last of his kind, pushed forward with grim determination. His boots left deep imprints in the scorching sand. Each step was a testament to his unwavering resolve. The horizon shimmered, a mirage of hope and despair intertwined. Roland's eyes, blue as a summer sky, scanned the barren landscape. He searched for any sign of his quarry. The weight of his revolvers hung heavy on his hips. They were a constant reminder of his duty. His ka. The sun beat down mercilessly, turning the world into a furnace of sand and stone. He had been tracking the man in black for what felt like an eternity. Days blurred into weeks, weeks into months. Time lost all meaning in this endless expanse, for at the end of this chase lay the answers he sought, and beyond that, the Dark Tower itself. The desert stretched out before Roland like an ocean of sand. Dunes rose and fell like waves frozen in time. The heat shimmered off the ground, distorting the horizon. It was a place of desolation, where life clung to existence by the barest of threads. Roland trudged on, each step a battle against the unforgiving terrain. The sun hung in the sky like a baleful eye, watching his every move. Its rays beat down upon him relentlessly, sapping his strength. Sweat trickled down his back, soaking his shirt. His throat burned with thirst. Yet he rationed his water carefully, knowing that to give in to temptation could mean death. As night fell, the desert transformed. The scorching heat gave way to bone-chilling cold. Roland huddled in the lee of a dune, wrapping his duster tightly around him. The man in black was out there, and Roland would find him, no matter the cost. Roland's body ached with every step. His muscles screamed for rest. His lungs burned with each breath of hot, dry air, but he pushed on, relentless as the desert itself. He had faced worse trials in his long and haunted life. This was but another obstacle to overcome. The gunslinger's mind was as sharp as ever, despite the physical toll. He constantly scanned his surroundings, alert for any sign of danger or opportunity. The desert was not empty. It held secrets for those who knew how to look. Roland had learned long ago to read the subtle signs of the world around him. As he walked, Roland checked his guns with practiced ease. The weight of the weapons was comforting, a reminder of who he was and what he stood for. He would catch his quarry, no matter how long it took. The man in black was clever, Roland had to admit. He left behind a trail of breadcrumbs, each more puzzling than the last. A scrap of paper with strange symbols, a child's toy, out of place in this barren wasteland. These were not mere accidents. They were messages, taunts, pieces of a larger puzzle. Roland knelt in the sand examining a small cairn of stones. It was too deliberate to be natural. He dismantled it carefully, revealing a small polished black stone at its center. The stone was cool to the touch, despite the desert heat. It bore a single etched symbol, a stylized eye. Roland's own eyes narrowed as he pocketed the stone. These clues were more than just a game. They spoke of the man in black's power, his knowledge of things beyond mortal ken. Roland would see this through to its conclusion, whatever that might be. Section 5. Reflections on a Haunted Past. As Roland trudged across the endless sands, his mind wandered to the past. Images flashed before his eyes, vivid and painful. He saw the faces of those he had lost. Cuthbert, his childhood friend, laughing in the face of danger. Alain, wise beyond his years, falling in battle. And Susan, beautiful, doomed Susan. Her memory was a knife in his heart, as sharp now as it had been all those years ago. The gunslinger's path had been long and bloody. He had made choices that haunted him still. The fall of Gilead, the last bastion of civilization in a world gone mad. Roland had sacrificed much in his quest for the Dark Tower. Sometimes, in the darkest hours of the night, he wondered if it had been worth it. But then, he would remember the tower itself. And so he pushed on, driven by a compulsion greater than any human desire. Section 6. The Abandoned Station and Its Secrets. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Roland spotted a structure in the distance. It seemed to shimmer in the twilight, a mirage made solid. He approached cautiously, his hand resting on the butt of his revolver. The building took shape as he drew near, an abandoned way station, a relic of a world that had long since moved on. The station was a squat, weathered structure of stone and wood. Sand had piled up against its walls as if the desert was slowly reclaiming it. Roland circled it once, alert for any signs of danger or habitation. Satisfied that it was empty, he pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. The interior was cool and dark, a welcome respite from the relentless desert sun. Roland's eyes adjusted to the gloom, taking in the sparse furnishings. A table, a few chairs, shelves lined with dusty cans and bottles. But it was a leather-bound book on the table that caught his attention. He picked it up carefully, its pages brittle with age. The abandoned station had yielded an unexpected treasure, another piece in the cosmic puzzle he was trying to solve. Section 7. Deciphering the Map of Destiny. Among the pages of the traveler's journal, Roland discovered a folded map. He spread it out on the dusty table, his eyes narrowing as he studied its contents. It was unlike any map he had ever seen. Instead of familiar landmarks, it was covered in strange symbols and twisting lines. Some areas were blank, as if the cartographer had been unable or unwilling to chart them. Roland traced the lines with his finger, his mind working to decipher their meaning. He recognized some of the symbols from the clues left by the man in black. Others were completely alien to him. The map seemed to depict not just physical locations but connections between worlds. At its center was a symbol that could only represent the Dark Tower itself. With great care, Roland folded the map and tucked it away. He knew it would be crucial in the days to come. The man in black had led him here for a reason. Section 8. A landscape in flux. As Roland left the way station behind, he noticed a change in the desert around him. The endless sea of sand began to give way to rocky outcroppings and sparse vegetation. It was as if the very landscape was shifting, transforming as he traveled. The air took on a different quality, heavy with the promise of change. Roland's supplies were running dangerously low. He rationed his water carefully, knowing that each sip could mean the difference between life and death. His body had grown lean and hard from the journey, all excess burned away by the merciless sun. But his eyes remained sharp, his reflexes as quick as ever. He was a weapon honed to a deadly edge by the desert itself. Strange rock formations loomed on the horizon, twisted shapes that seemed to defy gravity. Roland approached them warily, his hand never far from his guns. He had learned long ago that in this world, and all worlds, appearances could be deceiving. The Dark Tower's influence was growing stronger, warping the very fabric of the world. Section 9. The Oasis of Hope. Just when Roland thought he could go no further, he stumbled upon an oasis. At first he thought it was another mirage, a cruel trick of the desert. But as he drew closer, the sound of running water reached his ears. The sight of green living plants was almost painful after so long in the barren wasteland. Roland approached cautiously, ever mindful of traps. The oasis was a small paradise in the midst of desolation. A clear spring bubbled up from the ground, surrounded by lush vegetation. Roland fell to his knees beside the water, drinking deeply. The cool liquid was like life itself flowing into him, revitalizing his parched body. For a moment he allowed himself to relax, to feel something other than the driving need to continue his pursuit. As he refilled his water skins, Roland noticed something carved into a nearby rock. It was one of the symbols from the map, etched deeply into the stone. The oasis had provided him with more than just water and rest. Section 10. Treacherous Mountain Paths. The desert gave way to foothills, and soon Roland found himself climbing steep, treacherous paths. The air grew thin and cold, a sharp contrast to the scorching heat of the lowlands. He wrapped his duster tightly around himself, pushing against the biting wind. The mountains were unforgiving, each step a battle against gravity and exhaustion. Roland's progress slowed to a crawl as he navigated narrow ledges and loose scree. One misstep could mean a fatal fall. He moved with the patience of a man who had faced death many times before. His eyes constantly scanned the path ahead, looking for signs left by the man in black. Here and there he spotted familiar symbols carved into the rock face, confirming he was on the right track. As he climbed higher, Roland began to hear whispers on the wind.